is already messed up.
Okay.
Therefore, we as a country must stand up. We Kenyans, we just have to say enough is enough. Let's have an end to corruption. Anybody who's been named in a corrupt scandal, step aside. I like what the judiciary is doing. In fact, I did not support for them to be released on a cash bail, by the way. They should have stayed in there. But our constitution demands that everybody has a right to be released on a cash bail. But at the same time, we have to look at the public interest.
Okay. Suleiman, let me hear from you.
Yeah, the war on corruption has, the president has actually taken up the fight against corruption. He has made all the moves. He has shown us all the interest, the intention in eradicating this vice. Recently, he spoke of the idea of introducing what is called this concept of everyone bringing out the kind of wealth, the money, the lifestyle audit. So the lifestyle audit, although it's not clearly anchored in the laws of our country, to some extent, it can be alluded to Section 29 of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act. Then, to some extent, we have the Public Officers Ethics Act that brings in the question of public office holders filing a worksheet on the kind of properties they own after every 2 years and all that. Their wealth, the wealth declaration forms. What I'm saying is this. The president has clearly shown us that he is interested in fighting corruption. As Kenyans, we should actually support him and all that. This whole idea of politicians again coming out to oppose the same, to politicize the efforts that the head of state is making, is something we were expecting as Kenyans. That was expected. So, but as Kenyans, we are happy that the president has taken up that.
Paul, that it is you in the political class sort of hindering this particular process against, the fight on corruption. What is your thought on that?
Yeah, Ian, leaders have a problem of integrity in this country. And I believe if people who are very honest, especially leaders, they are very honest, and they also want to be transparent, and also they are willing to move away from hypocrisy and greed, then we'll be able to do the right things for this country.
Paul, are you in support of the lifestyle audit?
I am. Ian, every year we come back to the house, I declare what I have, and I'm not afraid even today. They can go and audit me. I have no problem, absolutely.
Why does it seem to bring about jitters amongst some of your colleagues in the House?
Well, we are all different, and that's what I'm saying. We need to be very honest within ourselves. And I'm sorry that for not being honest, then we are also leading without honesty. Because you can only lead your
when you say honesty, what exactly do you mean here? That as a member of parliament, that maybe, I'm not talking about you, but those who are opposed to this.
We need to bring all our records and so what you own and how did you get it.
Okay.
You sure how you got it.
Okay, let me hear from Suleiman before I come back to Paul.
I agree with Mheshimiwa here. In as much as the members of parliament are part of the are some of the Kenyans that who normally fill the wealth declaration forms, the reason as to why we have jitters due to this whole idea of introducing the lifestyle audit is because as a country we have the National Intelligence Service. The NIS is aware of Mheshimiwa Koinange, all his wealth and all that. The NIS is aware of that. It is aware of what Mheshimiwa Duale, Murkomen, each and every politician has in this country. So it is because they are a bit scared. They know, for instance, for me, if I were, for instance, a member of parliament who normally speaks high and mighty and all that, the National Intelligence Service knows the kind of wealth that I own and all that. Now, those who are clearly opposing the move know that whatever they have, they might not clearly tell Kenyans where they have how they acquired those properties. Okay. So I think the problem, those who are causing the jitters and all that is because they are scared and they know themselves.
Charles, I'll come back to you. But Paul, the issue here is even though as members of parliament you declare your wealth every time you come into office or come into the house, sections of Kenyans feel that this particular process is too lenient because all you just have to do is, fill a form. Do you own this? No. Do you not own this? And then you just simply state it without any perhaps follow-up process.
Yeah, we should actually be followed with what we have from time to time, instead of just doing an annual or one-time report And also, of course, like I do my returns for income tax every year and my returns. But what I wanted to say, Ian, when I talk about honesty and integrity, that means even when I'm in my bedroom, the things I'll do, when the public asks me, I'll be able to tell the public exactly what I do in my bedroom. Mm-hmm. And I remember very well, there's George Washington. George Washington had one of his manager, and he asked the manager, if you go the next door, I see the other man has grown a lot of corn. Can you go and arrange we bring that corn and we sell together? And the gentleman brought the corn with the other manager, made a deal. And George Washington fired the guy because he found there's no honesty with his manager. Tomorrow he's going to do the same thing. So honesty has to come from us first.
Just let me hear from you about the lifestyle audit and why you think sort of it's one taking a political turn and of course seemingly to actually divide members of parliament here.
I think the big question that the lifestyle audit seeks to answer is how did you acquire this property?
Yeah.
And how do you live such a lavish lifestyle and yet we know your pay and we know how you got into politics? Because when you look at older politicians, they've been able to make money, maybe through business, so they can afford that. But these young politicians who live lavishly, how have they made the money? And the issue is we as Kenyans, we look at public office as a means, as a way to riches, not as a way to serve the public. That's why when you go in there, you find somebody, they want to do the tendering process, they have to do something about so that my cronies can get the tender, inflate the prices. And yesterday when I was thinking, how do you sit somewhere and you know this cup costs 100 shillings when you're buying it from the market, and when you bring it to the government, you say it's 5,000 shillings. That is unconscionable. And it really disturbs my mind and my heart as a Kenyan. In fact, we are around right now, we are doing our tax returns, okay? You're supposed to declare and pay back your tax. I'm asking myself, do I file new returns or do I file the tax that I'm supposed to pay as a Kenyan? Yes.
Just recently, and in terms of, people acquiring wealth through dubious means, President Ndung'u Kenyatta ordered that all tenders being given out, should be made public in terms of the companies listed, who has been granted what, and the bid in which they put in. Your thoughts on that, Suleiman?
Okay, Ian, before I give my reaction to that, just to add briefly onto the discussion on the lifestyle audit again. This audit revolves on two things: the finances that you have, the amount of salary and all that you get, and the behavioral issue, how you behave out there in the streets and in the country. For instance, to give an example, our members of parliament, they normally spend about 100 million on campaigns, for instance. A member of parliament may spend shillings 100 million for his campaign. That's an example. Now, when you calculate his salary and benefits and allowances and all that throughout the period, it might amount to, for the 5 year, it might amount to Kenya shillings 60 million. You ask yourself, why will someone campaign and use 100 million just to go get Kenya shilling 60 million. That's
and this is something the IEBC tried to counter, putting limits in terms of how much you can spend during the campaigns. I do not know how successful that was.
The law was suspended, and again, I think there were amendments. Mheshimiwa will guide me. There were amendments, I think, on the was it the campaign financing law? I think that's the one that provides for that. So during the elections, if I can properly recall, I think that law was suspended. Was it the former prime minister who was going to court or something? Something happened somewhere. But again, just again on the same. The problem that we are going to have is the modalities of carrying out the lifestyle audit. What is going to happen is, for instance, the constituents of Honorable Koinange will, the government will go on what is called the fishing expedition. The question will be, any Kenyan who knows what the Mheshimiwa owns other than what he has declared. So the problem will be the fishing expedition and how it will be carried out.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. I'll come back to you so that we can continue this discussion. President Ndung'u Kenyatta is addressing the Antrim Economic Forum happening at the United Nations headquarters right here in Nairobi. Let's listen in.
I've joined him in this visit, and I believe that this visit is a reaffirmation of the cordial and warm relations that exists between the Republic of Kenya and the United States, but more importantly, between our two peoples. You will allow me to take advantage of this sitting before we get to our main point to take this opportunity to thank our Director General of UNON here, Sally Walker-Zwede, who today will be our last function together, seemingly since the SG has decided to give her another job. You have been a great partner, a great friend, and a trusted companion to the people of Kenya. You were the first Director General of UNON, and I think you have set a path for your predecessors or the guys who will come after you. I don't think anybody will be able to fit into your small shoes. But all the same, we're grateful for everything that you have done and the partnership that we have had with you and our government. Thank you, and we wish you every success in your future career. Let me also take this opportunity to extend our thanks to the American Chamber of Commerce and the U.S. Embassy for collaborating with my government to organize this important conference. A conference, I believe, that provides us an important point of engagement to exchange ideas on possible strategies that we can adopt to enhance establishment of business and investment between our two countries. I know our two nations have what I believe a shared social economic vision. In all we do, our commitment to improve the well-being of our people has always been at the center of our agenda. We consider in Kenya that our countries equally are well positioned together to strengthen even further our trade and economic cooperation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you're currently aware, the balance of trade currently is in favor of the United States. But we in Kenya are optimistic that we will see a significant improvement in our trade with the United States as the implementation of the second Kenya National AGOA Strategy 2018 to 2023 kicks off. Indeed, we are hopeful to see increase in our exports, both in volume and market. And we appreciate the support extended towards this endeavor by the U.S. government through the U.S. Trade Hub in coming up with this important strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, as has been mentioned by various speakers, our development agenda in the next 5 years, I believe, also provides a lot more investment opportunity, and my administration has identified 4 key thematic areas, which we now commonly refer to as the Big Four, which we intend to focus on in the next 5 years. The 4 areas are growing our manufacturing sector, and I'm happy to hear from the Secretary that this is something that is close to your heart, which we intend to increase the manufacturing sector's contribution to our gross domestic product from the current 9 to 15% over the next 5 years. This is also, secondly, our intention to ensure sustainable food security. 3, to build a minimum of 500,000 new affordable housing units to close our housing deficit gap, and 100% universal healthcare coverage, which we believe is essential and aspirations of our people. We, over the last several months, have put in place several interventions to ensure the achievement of the targets that we have set in these 4 thematic areas. And during the roundtable discussions that Minister Aden here has mentioned, I'm sure that the Cabinet Secretaries here present will provide you with more detail on those interventions and others that we intend to undertake. Additionally, and more importantly, my administration is also implementing a number of institutional reforms intended to improve the business environment that facilitates easy market entry and reduces the cost of doing business here in Kenya. On a regional basis, we are also collaborating with our neighbors to ensure that we also reduce barriers to trade so that your investment in Kenya can also easily access regional markets through East Africa, Central and Southern Africa as well, and that has been an important part of my engagement with our neighbors. On the macroeconomic policy front, the environment will continue, and our government will further press to ensure prudent fiscal and monetary policies that support strong economic growth. Our development expenditures will continue to be